Foodies and wine lovers, mark your calendars. The Fredericksburg Food and Wine Festival is back October 21st through the 26th, 2025, and this year's lineup is bigger than ever. From tacos and tequila at El Quincho to the Texas Black Tie Barbecue at Becker Vineyards, to the heart of it all, the grand tasting with more than 75 pours from Texas wineries, chefs, and artisans, so you don't want to miss it. While all access badges are already sold out, there are still plenty of ways to join the fun. Grab a grand tasting badge or a VIP badge, which gets you into the grand tasting an hour early and gives you access to the Grape Creek Vineyards VIP Lounge. Most of the a la carte events, such as the opening night at the Albert Hotel presented by William Chris Vineyards, the Wine Barrel Auction presented by Texas Wine Auction, and Waterfront Brunch at Fisher & Weiser Farmstead still have tickets left as well. Plus, proceeds support the Hill Country Hospitality Relief Fund, helping local workers recover from recent floods. Tickets are moving fast. Several events are already sold out, so snag yours today at fbgfoodandwine.com. See you in Fredericksburg this October.
Howdy, Vine Trippers. I wanted to take just a moment before the show begins to tell you a little bit about the Texas Wine Lover website and app. It is a definite must-have for anyone wanting to explore the Texas wine industry. Now, they have a website. It's txwinelover.com, but they also have an app that you can actually download to your phone. You can find it on the Apple App Store or on the Google Play Store for Android devices. And it's going to be kind of your one-stop shop for when you go out to visit these great places. So you get to listen to them here on the podcast or watch them on YouTube to learn about these wineries. But when you go to visit, make sure you're checking out that app, because I'm sure you're probably going to want to visit other places in the area as well. And you can do incredible searches. It's the most comprehensive listing of winery information in Texas. And you can look for wineries in your area to go visit multiple places. You can sort those listings by finding out ones that are kid-friendly, maybe some that are pet-friendly. If you want to look for events or things that are going on, if you want to find those that can host RVs, just about any category you can think of, you can actually sort those listings and find wineries around you to go visit. The app is free to use for you and I. So it's a perfect, again, hand-in-hand tool when you're going out to visit wineries. Listen to them on this podcast, watch them on YouTube, and then start making your plans to go visit and use the Texas Wine Lover app when you go. Now, it can also be a great tool. Maybe you're not even looking for a winery. You just happen to be traveling to some place in Texas, and you just might think, I've got a little extra time. I wonder if there are any wineries in the area. You can actually look them up in the Texas Wine Lover app. You can search either by the name of a winery, or it's got a map view. So you can actually pull up a map of the area around you and see locations of wineries near you and go visit them and support the Texas wine industry. So you got to use the Texas Wine Lover app. It goes perfectly with this podcast. So make sure you check it out before you go on your next trip among the vines. Again, it's www.txwinelover.com, or look up the Texas Wine Lover app on your favorite phone app store, and make sure you get that downloaded and use it frequently. You will benefit from it, and ask for Texas wines. Let's see the Texas wine industry prosper, and go visit some of these fun places that I'm bringing to you on the show.
Texas Under Vine, an exploratory podcast to scout out the best Texas wine country has to offer. I'm your wine guide, Scott, and I'm here to lead you on an auditory expedition to the vineyards and wineries across the great Lone Star State. Each episode will cover a different vineyard, winery, or wine-related business operating in Texas. You'll hear interviews, descriptions, and details about each location that will excite you to visit and experience them for yourself. Ready to plan a wine tour? Use these episodes to choose the most interesting spots for you and your friends to check out. Most of all, enjoy hearing about the rapidly growing wine industry in the state and what makes our wines and wineries the best. Howdy, fellow Vine Tripper. Welcome to episode 71 for the Texas Under Vine podcast. For this episode, I was able to finish up my trip up through the North Texas region and the Texoma AVA. I was able to find my way just east of I-35 in the little town of Valley View, off to the shores of Lake Ray Roberts, where I found a beautiful winery and vineyard located right on the water's edge called, appropriately, Edge of the Lake Vineyard. Now, this winery itself is a family-owned operation that actually sprang up out of the family-owned property here, the acreage they had on the lake, and this kind of New England-style seaside home that they had, which is now their tasting room. And they actually planted the first grapevines of their now 15-acre vineyard on that property around 2010. But it wasn't really until around 2017 when several of the key players decided to found the family business as a winery and vineyard, and they attended Grayson College to get their knowledge and their certificates in viticulture and enology. And one of those key players, Chris McIntosh, actually transitioned out of a role working in the restaurant industry in the Dallas area and decided to become their head winemaker with his training there at Grayson College. And currently, in their vineyard that they have there on the property, they have it planted to Albariño, they have Tempranillo, and they have Grenache in that 15-acre vineyard. But Chris was telling me they actually have 50 extra acres allotted for them to be able to plant more vines for the future as they continue to grow. And interestingly enough, the land before they purchased it was actually a hog farm. And they have actually areas of the dirt where they got the hogwash there that has a lot of nutrients in the soil. They actually named their most famous rosé wine, Texas Hogwash Rosé, their most popular rosé, after that tribute to the hog farm. You'll hear more of that story in the interview itself. But one of the things that I really appreciate about this winery and this vineyard as I went to visit is the real thought and intention that they put into everything that they do here at the winery at Edge of the Lake. For instance, they do offer one sweet wine. It is a sweet white, but it is not flavored and sweetened with added sugar. To avoid added sugars, they actually flavor it with organic blue agave, and that lends perfect sweetness to the wine itself. Another example of this intention and thought that they put into the process here at Edge of the Lake is the way they do their tastings in their tasting room. They're very intentional about only serving you one wine at a time. They do not want you to be distracted by other flavors and other things going on. They want the server, who is very knowledgeable, to be able to educate you on the wine that you're tasting, to give you all of the thorough background and history and all of the things about that particular wine. So you can really be very single-minded and very focused on each of the wines that you're tasting as you work your way through that tasting. Again, very intentional and thoughtful. And beyond the wines, wait till you hear about some of these amazing and fun events that they are doing at this particular winery. I mean, they've got it going on. I really found myself pulling out my phone and checking my calendar for dates to see if I could maybe swing another trip up there to the North Texas region. I would love to attend some of these cool events that they put on. And the location is such a treat to have this beautiful tasting room that's a lake house right on the edge of the water. You can sit outside, sip on your wine, enjoy the water and the view of the lake. It's just fantastic. I mean, you can't go wrong. And it's such a unique experience. It's so different from almost any other vineyard or winery I've ever experienced in Texas to be able to have that lake right there and to be right on the waterfront. That in and of itself is worth a visit up to North Texas to check out their winery.
Now, I was lucky to be able to sit down in this really cool tasting room that they have, a room off the tasting room called their library room. And I was able to sit down with one of the co-owners and their winemaker, Chris McIntosh, and he was able to fill me in on the history of the winery itself, as well as some of his philosophy on grape growing and winemaking and all the really fun things they're doing here at Edge of the Lake Vineyard. So don't just hear it from me. Let's go talk to Chris.
Howdy, Vine Trippers. Welcome to this episode where I'm out at Edge of the Lake Vineyard, still here in the Texoma region and enjoying my trip here in North Texas. And so I'm excited to bring you this beautiful vineyard and property right literally on the lake. Talk about an amazing view here. And I'm lucky to be able to sit down with Christopher McIntosh, who is one of the owners and the winemaker here. So without further ado, let's talk to Christopher. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What got you into the wine industry?
Well, I always say that I got tricked into it.
Okay.
I wish I had this incredible story about how I was touring abroad and fell in love with Tempranillo.
Right.
That's my shot at Ron Yates. You know, that did his fabulous story. But my dad started planting grapevines on our property here in 2010.
Okay.
So we've been growing for that long. That's when he originally approached me about starting a family business. And honestly, I thought he had just lost his mind. He was planting grapevines with no real plan. And
He's getting senile in his old
yeah,
age.
he was just doing it. And, but he kept doing it. And so in 2017, we really kind of trudged forward of trying to make this into what his vision was. And, I came on full steam to be a part of that. Both him and my vineyard manager and myself all went back to school at Grayson College at the TV Munson School and got our certificate degree in enology and viticulture, with the original intention of having enough knowledge to hire a proper winemaker. And then two things happened. Harvest came again while we were still doing the classes, and we weren't going to drop any more fruit on the ground. So
Had to do something with it.
yeah, literally emptied out the living room and did our first fermentations right in that what's now the tasting room in there.
I love it.
And then kind of got the bug and kind of stuck with it and realized I could do that and that I couldn't probably afford a proper winemaker to start off with. So something we had to figure it out.
Right.
Prior to that, I was a partner in a restaurant in Dallas that we kind of specialized in a lot of dietary restrictions. We fed a lot of CrossFitters and paleo and did about 95% gluten-free options on our menu. And so that kind of
food science.
real food science. And that even kind of fed over to, I was in charge of the beverage program there. So a lot of our cocktails were mimicked around those alternatives. So a lot of agave use, which is, we'll talk about, we do an Agave-Sweetened wine. It's the only sweet wine that we do here. And that came from the theme of my experience with the restaurant. And so I was actually building a new restaurant, going to school, planting grapes out here all at the same time there for a little while. It was a little chaotic, but, and now my whole family's involved and we're just out here having a good time and making friends, selling some wine in between.
True family business
Yeah.
here, grown up on the family property.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a 100-acre property. We're surrounded by water on 3.5 sides. So
Little peninsula.
yeah, the little hop, skip, and a jump, and it would be an island, or a real rainy season. It can almost happen, right? And we have 15 acres under vine here. But we concentrate on growing our Spanish varietals. So we grow Albariño as our white, Tempranillo. We start some of the original plants that my dad planted, and then obviously a lot more. And then everything you drove through came up. That's all Grenache, both east and west. So, so we just focus on those 3 varietals right now and try to grow the best ones we can. And they seem to like being by the lake, so it works out pretty good. As far as I know, we're the only lakefront vineyard in the state of Texas. There may be another one, but not to this,
To that
size.
extent,
Yeah,
sure.
to the extent. And we have 50 more acres of plantable land on the west side of the
so
property.
lots of room to expand.
So, and we plan to expand on that. We've got to work on some more winery space before we put more vines in the ground.
One step after the other. It's amazing how you make one step and it opens up a whole other plethora of things you got to do.
That is the wine business in a sentence right there for sure. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So it sounds like you're making some good Rioja style
we do
here with Grenache and some Tempranillo.
Yeah, and we do. Grenache is really the standout here.
Yeah.
As far as growing, it's easy. We make Grenache 3 different ways. We make a direct press rosé. We make what we call as a young blood Grenache, and then we do our estate Grenache reserve. And so we always thought, I think like a lot of people, Tempranillo would be our flagship grape, and we make a great estate Tempranillo as well. But the Grenache is just
Really
so
led
much
the way.
easy. Yeah, it grows great. I like to tell our customers we tricked them into thinking they're in the Mediterranean because of the lakefront property, and but they just seem to flourish here, and it's been really easy to make wine with the Grenache plants for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Do you struggle at all with the color? I know sometimes with Grenache, it can struggle in Texas to get color and all of that.
We have 2 different clones planted here. So the newer planting is the same struggle everybody else has, and that's but we concentrate on making what we our rosé is called Texas Hogwash Rosé, and I'll give you history about that later. And then the young blood Grenache, which is a light colored Grenache. Now the older plants that are ones in the block closest to the lake, they get way more color, even some pulp and immersion even in those plants, and so it's very unique to this property and this location, and that goes only into our State Grenache Reserve, and that's done more in a Rhone style. So we use 5% Viognier in there as well, to help kind of stabilize that color, kind of open up the bouquet of the wine.
Aromatics in there too.
Yeah, and it works really well. Simple.
Cool.
Yeah.
So this may be a silly question, but what made you come up with Edge of the Lake Vineyard?
That's again, I wish it was a more romantic story. So when you're leaving, you may notice there's a big W on the gate. Okay. My mother, when my parents purchased this property, named the property Water's Edge, and that's what the W on the gate stands for.
Yeah.
When we went to, so there's 2 parts to the story. When we went to apply for the DBA for the name, Water's Edge was already taken. There was a wine bar in San Antonio with a G permit that it was called Water's Edge. And now I think they had just opened one in Dallas. But so we had to pivot, and I'm not the most creative person, so I went with Edge of the Lake. I was really working on something that I could kind of focus the initials on. And so we kind of go under the mantra of EOTL, that can fit in a space and people can remember and stuff. So Edge of the Lake is kind of where that came from. So now the W on the gate stands for wine instead of water.
I love it.
Just a quick pivot.
Repurpose.
Yeah. So our LLC and our actual permit is under the name Pierce's Vine, which Pierce is my father's middle name.
Okay.
And so that's what he started. He did the business name of the vineyard. Well, that was before we went to school and really dove in and realized Pierce's disease was a thing. And so obviously we couldn't call it Pierce's Vineyard. Right. So we went with Edge of the Lake.
I love it. Yeah. Great story. I'm glad I asked that one. That's funny. Well, so you've got the vineyard out here, and we talked about the things you have planted in that. You mentioned a moment ago Viognier, so I presume you also source fruit outside of your own vineyard?
Yeah. So we primarily, at this point, we work with ready vineyards a lot. When we first started, I had reached out. I did some work over at Eden Hill, kind of trying to learn a couple things from those guys. And they put me in touch with Akil. And then Akil, obviously we're a new winery. You have to be kind of selective when you're selling fruit. You don't want to just sell it to somebody. And, but after talking with Akil for a while, he started asking me about my background. I talked to him about Cozy, the restaurant. And at that time we had the location in Uptown and he was a regular. We didn't know that. And so once I said that and his connection to the restaurant, he's like, yeah, I'll sell you whatever you got.
How
I know,
serendipitous
small
that
world.
is.
I mean, God's hand's got it on, hand in everything all the time. And so the relationship between our family and the Reddies accelerated very quickly. They've come and they brought their whole family out here one year for Christmas to meet, to spend some time. And so we've kind of, flourished, but in that relationship because of the ease of having, being able to prove ourselves up front.
Yeah.
And it's been great.
And that's a great grower. I mean, they've got such a great reputation.
Like a winemaker's playground to go out there and choose from 38 different varietals.
Wow. So, and they're doing amazing work up there. I
and then
love
we've sourced some from Bingham and a couple other people at different times, but that's our main pipeline. We have some interest in bringing in some fruit from Mason County. It's got some relationship with those guys out there. I just need to get a couple of other North Texas wineries on board so that we can share
some stuff.
share some stuff coming in. I've been working on Winemaker a little bit for that. If I could just get them to make a Barbera, we would be in it. So, anyway, so as we grow, we'd like to, I would love the opportunity to be able to express our estate Tempranillo, a High Plains Tempranillo, and some Tempranillo from the Hill Country area, and make all three of those wines the same way. So when people come in here, they can really
see the
terroir. See, there's so much difference between ours and in the Hill Country, and there's so much difference between us and down in the Hill Country. Really kind of showcase those different areas of Texas in one setting.
Horizontal tasting.
Yeah, it'd be very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Interesting. I love that Mason area.
Yeah.
So excited for that new.
Mason's got a huge part in our life. Me and my wife actually got our marriage certificate in Mason. We were down there we needed to get it done, and we're older. We needed to get it done. We went to Mason for during the week in the summer, and it's like, why don't we have time now?
Yeah, this courthouse.
Yeah, we just went and got it, and so Mason's a part of our family, so it's a pretty cool deal.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, fun area, and so much going up there. Well, so when you bring the fruit in, do you process that all here? Do you have a processing?
Yeah,
place
everything is done, processed, aged, bottled down. Everything's done here. We use the mobile bottling truck.
Sure.
With wine and spirits, and just so that we can get a lot of things bottled at one time.
Sure.
Actual floor space is a big problem for us. It's a lot of stacking, and I call it adult Tetris. But we do that, and everything's processed, everything's aged here, bottled, labeled. So,
and then as a winemaker, what are some of your favorite wines to make?
I'll give you two answers.
Okay.
I really enjoy making our estate Grenache Reserve here.
Okay.
Like I said, it's not only the growing part of it. The vines are they bounce back easier. They're more pliable. They want to grow. They want to listen to what you're trying to get them to do.
Okay.
Unlike Tempranillo, which is just the opposite.
Right. Child.
Yeah. So that part makes it easy going into it. The fruit is so good. I always tell people that is one wine where I just have to stay out of the way.
Okay.
And because of that, it's a very confident wine going in. It comes from my vineyard. I can harvest it at the right time. I know nutrient quality is always good. Everything is just easy.
100% control.
Yeah. Just let it go, and so that makes it really easy, and it gives a great expression of what happens here on this location in the Texoma AVA.
Okay.
As far as my favorite varietal to work with from my High Plains fruit is actually Petite Verdot. Okay. We've been using Petite Verdot since the first time we purchased fruit from High Plains, and it was always in a capacity for blending. It's my blender for multiple things, and everything is transparent. It's on the label. I'm not a guy that's going to make you search the web to find out how much actual fruit it's in there on the back. You might need to put on your reading glasses to see it, but it's on there.
Yeah.
And in 2022, we finally it was the first year we were able to obtain enough to make a single varietal. And we've made it for the past 2 years past that. It is without a doubt in Texas, and especially at Ready Vineyards, Petite Verdot does so much better. It gets so much more ripe. It's just a completely different expression than it is anywhere else in the world. And while I love using it to add color and a little tannin structure to other wines, as a single varietal, it showcases so well. And it's beautiful. It's not for everybody. So that's why it's my favorite to make, because I enjoy Petite Verdot, and I just love the inky color and the structure of it.
Velvety nature.
Yeah, just so velvety. Yeah, exactly. So we really enjoy making that wine. And I honestly, I really enjoy making all the wines, and there's always like kind of that internal joke between winemakers that we put so much work into whites and rosés that, and they're the cheapest bottle on our tasting menu, so sometimes that's like, you're like, and always that adding bentonite to white wine, you're just like, I'm just turning a perfectly good looking wine gray.
Yeah.
Even if it's only for a couple of weeks. That's always a hard
Just to
part.
clarify, right?
Yeah. But, we, everything here is handcrafted. We touch every part of it. So I really do enjoy all of it, but I would say that stand out both Texoma and High Plains. Those would be the 2 varietals. Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about some of the wines that you offer. What are some of the ones that are popular with customers and some of the things that you provide?
Probably currently our number one selling wine is our Texas Hogwash Rosé.
Okay.
Okay. It is a now last vintage, and then we're actually releasing the new vintage tomorrow, is 100% Grenache from our estate. It's a direct press. So as we're harvesting, we're bringing in and start pressing right away, keeping the skin contact down to as minimal as possible. It's the reason we call it Texas Hogwash Rosé is that this was actually a pig farm, Jack, the pig farmer, who sold the property to my dad. And
This sounds like a comic book character, Jack the Pig Farmer.
Oh yeah,
I love
but
it.
he looked exactly like a pig
Like you'd
farmer,
expect.
like big, huge overalls, But he, where those Grenache plants are planted, and you can still see some of the pig stalls. We're in the process of taking them down now, finally. But when his tank would fill up from the runoff from the pig stalls, he would hook a pump up and spray that part of the field.
Ah,
So there is really a connection from the pigs to those grapevines. There haven't been big pigs here in probably 25 years plus,
Right.
but that part of the vineyard is so overly nutrient rich that they just go crazy.
Look it up.
And the Grenache is easy to work with all the way through all programs. We have great pH levels coming off the vineyard, which is not the case with anything else up here. You know, it's very easy to work with. So Hogwash has been a favorite. It was our most award-winning wine last year through and through. But we also we do a bourbon barrel aged Tempranillo, and sometimes that's from High Plains fruit. Sometimes it's from a vineyard, just depending on what we do. That's always since day one been one of our number one selling wines. We actually age that wine first on a 50-50 of French oak and American oak for a year. Then we take them off, put them in a tank to blend together, let it rest for 3 months, and then we go into bourbon barrels from Iron Root Republic Distillery in Denison, Texas. And those are a mix. It's 75% American and 25% European.
Okay.
So that wine now, and it's grown over the years, but that touches 4 variations of oak through its process. And it's just always been one of our most popular wines. And then the Estate Grenache Reserve is, my wife will tell you that's why she married me, is because of the Estate Grenache Reserve. I'm sure there's a compliment in there somewhere. So, yeah.
Well, it got you to the courthouse in Mason, so, you know.
It worked out, I guess. Yeah. But I would say those are our 3 top selling wines for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then do you offer, so you talked about Albariño a while ago. So I'm sure you offer some whites, and you've got a rosé, you got reds.
Yeah.
Do you offer any other sweet wines or sparkling or anything like that?
We do 100% Albariño, 100% Viognier.
Okay.
And then we do a blend of the two that is a later bottling white that sits on lees for 6 months. And then we only make one sweet wine, and it's a white.
Okay.
It's called Sweet Freedom. The current Sweet Freedom is a 50-50 blend of Gewürztraminer and Moscato Bialo.
Oh.
Those wines are made dry.
Yeah.
And then we blend those together, and then we actually back sweeten with blue organic agave.
Oh, right.
So there's actually no added sugar. They start off dry. We just use the agave. Makes it really interesting, allows those wines to stay more floral. They're not buried in sugar.
Right.
And the agave finishes a lot cleaner. And it works with people that are sugar sensitive. It doesn't give you that headache, doesn't give you that sugar coating on the tongue. And so that's our only sweet wine, and probably always will be in our portfolio. So.
And that's what you got from your background with the restaurant.
Yeah, that ties me back to the restaurant with Cozy. Yeah.
Cool.
So, and we offer 3 different tasting levels. Okay. We offer our rosé and whites. We do a dry reds and our premium reds. Each sample includes 4 tastings. Okay. Or you have the option to pick 5. So you pick, 5 from each one of those, and you can do that as a customized tasting. So technically, I guess there's 4 optional tastings. We really concentrate, and it's important to us. Everything is hand poured one at a time here. Okay. The thought was I wanted customers not to have a flight or multiple wines in front of them at one time, so that they could really focus on what you said and work on those tasting notes on that one wine at a time. So that's how we do it. We don't pour them all together. And we've done that since day one. And that's just our approach. It takes a little more work, obviously, but that's the service level that we want to have here. It's an elevated experience to come in here. You have to be willing to hug because my family are all huggers, but they want, I always joke that, we thought we'd go like the cold, sterile feel here, but since we were inviting you in your home, we're just going to treat you like family. But that's just really who we are. So it works out
true to
pretty
your
well.
nature and who yourself. So
Yeah.
so come in for a hug and a glass of wine.
Hug and a glass of wine. You better be ready for it.
A
So
wine hug and a personal hug. How's that?
both. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Speaking of that, you've got this beautiful location, this home that I presume you had turned into for the tasting room. Do you host any kind of attractions or events or things like that here?
Yeah. We do several throughout the year that are kind of our staples. I mentioned tomorrow we're releasing our new vintage of Texas Hogwash Rosé. There will probably be 300 to 400 people come through here tomorrow. We have some live music, food truck, and we usually do one summer release event like that every year.
Yeah.
Our biggest event of the year that we do here is in April, is our sip and shop, and it usually coordinates with the release of our bourbon barrel.
Okay.
And that really started from the beginning. The beginning of the bourbon barrel was from Estate Fruit, and my dad is not a bourbon drinker by any means. And when I told him I was going to put our Estate Tempranillo into bourbon barrels, his comment was all of it. And I said, well, you can't fill the barrel up halfway. So yes. And he did not.
He was not a fan.
He was not bought in. And we sold that first vintage of bourbon barrel out in a month and a half after opening. So now from that first year, everybody had to wait a full year before we could have that wine out again.
Everybody's asking, when is it going to be more?
So it's become the event that's grown into, we have up to 10 vendors out here, live music all day, food trucks, and it's really centered around the release of that bourbon barrel.
So is your dad a believer now?
Oh yeah. He's I still can't get him to drink bourbon, but he's a believer.
He at least believes it.
And then we do several. We have 3 that this will be our 3rd anniversary. We have 3 wine pairing dinners a year. So we obviously do one around Valentine's. Our kind of our take on that is I don't want people to have to pick between doing Valentine's at our place and somewhere else. So I usually split Valentine's. So we have 2 nights of those pairing dinners around Valentine's Day, one the week before, one the week after, so to speak. And we do that one every year. Then we do one, we celebrate Bloom in May with a dinner. And then in September, we celebrate Harvest with a wine pairing dinner. And that's become, I've used the same chef. Her name, she's Chef Mallory from Farm to Belly. Now she's got this whole following. We just released the tickets yesterday and I'm already halfway sold out for the September dinner. So it gets released to our wine club members only at first. And that usually is as far as it gets. Every once in a while, we might have a couple of spaces left for everybody else. Traditional thing that started every December, we do shut down one day for sure that it's club members only. It's a Sunday in December. I first year did that and I made buffalo hatch green chili.
Whoa.
And so now I make a lot of it because the wine club has grown. And it's just chili, wine, hang out, have a good time, some giveaways and things like that.
Yeah.
That's a big one. What else? We did our first Burning in the Vine celebration last year at the beginning of December, just right out there in the open field. And it was awesome. There was hundreds of people here just hanging out. We had hot dogs and some live music. So that's a yearly event everybody's going to expect from me now. So, what else did we, my wife and my sister-in-law, who also works for me, coordinated a murder mystery for about 50 people and they did it throughout the house, upstairs, downstairs. Well, I'll show you the whole place later and you'll kind of get an idea. So now that's an expected event that we have to come up with every year. But we have our anniversary party every year. We do the sip and shops. We're not we do, several festivals a year, but that's not our main business model. I obviously support the ones for our association. And we have one here in Valley View as well that we do every year. And we just, I think our whole mode, I think part of it was the torture of doing grand openings with a restaurant. That I was like, we never did a grand opening here. We did a soft opening for like 3 months. Yeah. No food, just water, wine. Yeah. That's it. Let's get our feet wet. So we really try not to overdo things too much. And we add things on. And if they work, we stick to them. If they don't, we ixnay it. I never want to be an overpromise, underdeliver guy. It's not my motto.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we're
And overcommit to something and then you find out, now we're going to scale back.
And not be able to do. I mean, we're family. I run this entire business with 10 employees, both vineyard and inside, including myself. So there's not much staff, and it's me, my wife, my daughter, my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law, a few people that have become family. Yeah. And then I do have 3 full-time vineyard staff too. So, and property management as well. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, let's say the listeners, watchers are getting excited now to come visit and see you. You talked a little bit about the tasting just a moment ago and some of the different flights that you have, or not flights, but the different tasting options that they have. How much do those typically cost?
The white tasting, which includes the 4 samples, is $18.
Okay.
Our dry reds, which just refers to our lighter bodied reds, the Barbera, the young blood Grenache on there, is 4 samples for $20. Premium Premium reds will be $25, and then the 5 customized tasting is $30.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, so,
do customers need to make reservations, or
no?
Can they walk in?
Reservations are not required.
Okay.
Now one thing that we do is I only do tastings in this bottom tasting area inside.
Yeah.
So with Saturdays, Sundays, I could be fully booked for a week or 2 out.
Okay.
So we highly recommend, if you're wanting to do a tasting, to make a reservation on those days. Thursdays and Fridays are always very, a little bit more mellow. There's every once in a while Friday gets thrown in where it's just chaos, but Thursdays and Fridays are really mellow, but we always have a seat available.
Okay.
Patio is always first come, first serve. We just don't offer tastings outside.
Sure.
And then we do have our wine club lounge upstairs, which I'll show you later as well. And we don't do tastings up there, but wine club members always have a place to go and hang out. So
if somebody wanted to come in and maybe just get a glass or something, they could go out and sit on the patio if it's full in here.
Hell yeah.
Or the wine club members go upstairs, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of rooms for,
and
for people.
There's a lot of seating. There's a screened-in porch area even, and then the open area outside. Then upstairs, there's even a balcony upstairs. So there's a lot of options there. But if you want a tasting, even if you want to hang out outside, we do the tasting inside, get you done, and then you can move outside to enjoy a glass or a bottle. Is kind of
wouldn't hurt to make a reservation in that case.
For sure.
Especially on the weekend, Saturday, busy time. What about your operating hours?
We're open Thursday currently from 4 to 7.
Okay.
Friday, Saturday 1 to 7, Sunday 1 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then are you kid friendly, pet friendly? If somebody wants to bring their kids in, or they've got their Fido in tow or things like that?
So we are family and kid friendly.
Okay.
When people call, and it may sound kind of smart aleck, but my answer is always, whether you can bring your kid to a winery.
Yeah.
We have a lot of extra place out there between here and the vineyard where kids can run, they can bring a ball, they can play. We encourage that, but we've encouraged picnicking out there if you want.
Sure.
But as far as the pets, we did try that.
Yeah.
I have 2 full-time vineyard dogs and 2 that I call part-time vineyard dogs. They have their own fan club here as well. So we kind of got away from allowing people to bring their animals unless they're a service animal. Obviously, they can bring those. It just became, dogs are weird. So, and those dogs have a job to keep all the animals we don't want away from here. So we try to stay away from the pets being here.
Well, what about food type of options? Do you provide any kind of food options, or can customers bring their own food?
We don't allow customers to bring food inside the tasting room.
Okay.
We do allow them if it's a birthday celebration or something to bring a cake, obviously.
Sure.
We have the screen porch patio people are able to rent for like bridal showers or birthdays as well. And they can bring their own food for there. We do encourage people to have picnics if they want to bring a picnic. So outside, it's fine. Inside, yes, we have plenty of food options. We do a pretty elaborate board that's got all sorts of stuff on it. Then we break it down in the smaller sections that we call just the good stuff. So just cheese, crackers, just meat and crackers, or just meat, cheese, and crackers. We do bruschettas as kind of our specialty. I have a standard bruschetta that we call the Lakeside bruschetta, but we do a couple fun ones that are our own proprietary recipes. One called the Flying Pig, and then one called the Hot Date. Okay. We've got hummus and roasted red pepper that we make here with blue corn chips, and then we also have a spinach artichoke dip. And then we do a couple of wine cocktails as well. But we're not a lunch place, but the the options are plenty filly. Yeah, and everything's designed to kind of go with our wine, our style, and our wine list. So the board, you could do all 3 tastings, and something pairs perfectly with it. I promise. So
I'm sensing your restaurant background a
a
little,
little
bit with
bit,
all of
yeah,
that
a little
there,
bit.
right? Kind of like went into some of that planning. What about group sizes? Do you have any maximum group sizes? If somebody want to bring a lot of people at once or things like that?
We don't really have any maximums. We only allow people to book reservations because you can just book right on our website.
Right.
Up to 7. If it's a party larger than 7, they have to call us. And when there's a little planning that goes into that,
Yeah.
like the room we're sitting in, this is a different experience. It's listed also on our website, what we call the library experience. It maxes at 8. And this is a tasting of 6 wines with me with some small bites and stuff. And so in that tasting, sometimes I'll pull something out from the library. Sometimes I'll pull something that we haven't released yet and allow them to taste that and buy it that day. So this
Elevated
is a
tasting.
little bit elevated experience. Get out the fancy aquapana water and everything for it. But yeah, as far as that, I've got so much flexibility, with the screen porch. We can do more. We try not to do too big of parties in the tasting area just because it gets so loud. But yeah, we'll work with anybody. I do some tour companies. We have Red River Rides if you're ever up in this area. Great place. They can take you around. They're familiar with all the wineries, know how to book it, know how to keep things under control. So we do some of those. But yeah, and sometimes I lease out the upstairs. But if I have a special event that takes more than, I've got a rehearsal dinner coming up. That's about 70 people, and they're renting the entire upstairs. So,
yeah, real special event kind of thing.
Yeah, we have options. Okay, there's plenty of space. So
anything over 7, make sure to contact and make
if it's over
sure.
7, it'll prompt you to call us, and we'll get it taken care of.
What would you say are your busier and slower seasons? What's the best time for somebody to come visit?
Well, the best time depends on whether you want it to be busy or not, right?
Okay.
We don't really have like a slow season.
Okay.
The lake generates so much interest in just hanging out. Some people like hanging out on the patio when it's chilly. We have got heaters out there for that time of year. If you want to see the vineyard in its glory, to come in late spring or early summer before it gets too hot. We're really busy during the summer, which is not the same with everybody. Even this month is a really busy month for us.
Sure.
And I think all seasons you really need to visit in all, because the vineyard's so beautiful in different times. On our website, I think or somewhere on Facebook, there's pictures of it when we had blankets of snow and it's just the vines sticking out, and
It's beautiful.
so I think all times of year are great. It just depends on what your flavor is. Obviously we have a big inside space, big patio space, so we can always accommodate you.
Well, and that's what I love about wineries that have the vineyard right there on site, because you really do, if you come in multiple times of the year, get to see that life cycle of the vine as it, grows and then blooms, and then you get the grapes, and then the harvest, and then pruning and all that fun. You get to see the whole cycle.
People want to see the fruit and stuff on there, but there's just that little window where the fruit's purple and pretty and everything. So I would say any time of year is beautiful out here. It's just such a unique property. So, and the wine tastes the same every time, all times of year. So,
well, do you have a wine club?
We do.
Tell me about it.
So we basically have 3 different wine clubs that we run, that they're mirrors of each other. We have a 3-bottle club and a 4-bottle club, that are quarterly pickups, or months, or February, May, September, or December. I pick out those allocations for each wine club. But we also, all of our members have their own login to their club. So we also put a good array of our options on there as well. We don't have a separate red or white or a mixed club because we allow them to do that.
Customize a little bit.
It keeps it really simple, but I really want the customers to get the wines that they want.
Right.
I do want them to try wines that are coming out, but I also want them to get their favorites if they want that. So really easy, they can customize, and it's just a 3 and 4 bottle. The 3rd club is what's called our 100 Club. And that was our original founding people that first signed up. And the reason it's called 100 Club, because we just said the first 100.
There you go.
But what we've did this past year is, if you've been a member with us for 2 years, you'll get an email from us giving you the option to opt into the 100 Club, which is a 25% discount on all bottles purchased in or out of club. We really wanted to engage and have loyal customers that will stay with us for a long time. And I think rewarding them for being with you that long was the best way to do it. Our 4-bottle club gives you an 18% discount on all purchases in or out of club with wine. And the 3-bottle club gives you 15% off. Anytime a customer comes in, them and up to 3 guests, so their spouse and another couple, whatever the arrangement is, gets a complimentary tasting.
Okay.
I think some people are like, you give it anytime. I've never really had it. We're a destination place. People aren't, we have very few people who are going to show up every week to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Since we don't do tastings upstairs, in lieu of that, if a wine club member goes upstairs, them and their spouse or whoever accompanied them, so just 2 people get a complimentary glass.
Okay.
So no matter where they sit, whether they're outside in the tasting room or upstairs, they get something while they're here. And then obviously they get first invites to the dinners we spoke about, any special events. We do 2 case sales a year. We're in that this month. So all club members would get a 25% discount, or I'm sorry, all customers get 25% discount on during those case sales. In July, club members go to 40%. So that doesn't matter what level club you are, you get 40% off during the month of July, Christmas in July,
There you go.
you gotta keep it going. So, and then we do that same program again in December at the end of the year.
Okay.
So
Nice. 2 times a year. And then of course there's the wine club only event in December that we
yeah,
talked
the
about
wine club
earlier, so-
only event, and all the things we do go to the club members first.
Sure.
And we try to get those invites to them, let them, if they fill it up, great. We don't have to talk about it on Facebook after that.
Good.
If they don't, then we'll put it out there and send it to our mailing list as well.
Okay.
So,
Well, I've got a lot of listeners and watchers from all over. And let's say somebody can't necessarily get here very easily.
Mhm.
Do you do any kind of distribution, or do you sell your wines on your website or things like
we
that?
we do sell on the website.
Okay.
And I think we deliver to 37 states. Okay. We do cut off shipping during the summer months, usually kick it back up about in September and October. You can start ordering them. We'll watch the weather. We won't ship it unless
You don't
it's
want your
gonna
wine sitting on the back of that
No,
UPS
we do
truck
not.
in the heat. So.
No, we don't. So, but yeah, they can do that. We are not in distribution at this point. We barely make enough to keep this place going at times. So, but we are in a few wine bars and restaurants locally, mostly. So the best way would be to find us online or come visit. Yeah.
Yeah, that way people could taste the wines without having to necessarily get here yet.
Oh, yeah,
And maybe
yeah.
give them a sampling. All right, so we've talked a little bit about the vineyard and the location here. Do you have plans for future growth? I know we talked about planting other things, other types of stuff, and we laughed about a minute ago. You do one thing and it opens up a whole plethora of other
Yeah.
things. But do you have plans for future growth here and what you want to do?
Well, we have pretty big dreams, I think. We've been working on a development project here for the past couple years, having a little bit of pushback on a portion of it, which is why it hasn't started. So we are looking to put in a event space and wedding venue that will seat up to 300 people, kind of a higher end wedding venue.
Right by
with
the lake.
right here on the lake. It would be on the south side between the 2 vineyards. And then with that, putting in a much larger production facility. But the third leg of that is the part we're getting pushback on, which was lodging.
Okay.
We sit in a planning and zoning comprehensive plan for the lake.
Right.
And so there's some navigating to do to get the lodging. We started with a hotel, and that got shot down. They weren't ready for a 61 bedroom hotel. So we're looking at some cabins and expanding them around our pond, making the pond bigger. Some of them cantilever over the pond.
Okay.
I've gotten approval on the production facility and the wedding venue, but not the lodging so far.
Okay.
So we're kind of taking a step back.
Sure.
Let's pace ourselves and see that. We're going to have to do some sort of production in between that. I think our overall plan is to really focus on this as the destination before we open up any tasting rooms anywhere else.
Sure.
Obviously, I need the production capability to even consider both. So long term, expand this, give people reason to come, stay here, and then pivot from here to go visit other wineries in our area.
Yeah.
Obviously, we all rise together. So getting in place for them, the starting point is key for us. And then in the midst of that, obviously planning and extending the vineyard on the other side of the property. So that's our main focus, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of great places in Texas for people to go get some good wine. So what do you, in your opinion, really sets Edge of the Lake Vineyard apart that would make people say, I got to get there as soon as I can?
Well, the number one thing is, or the first thing is obviously the location. This is the most unique property. Pictures on the internet and Facebook you can't even capture this place in one photo. I think like our cover photo for Facebook is an aerial shot from above the lake because it's the only view you can get where you can actually see the expansion, the expanse of everything. Um, but you partner that with the crafted wines that we're doing and the setting that it's in. It's unique. It's great. I think some of the things that we do besides just our single varietals that are standouts and stuff like that is I've really focused on, and this is not a proven theory, but in my mind, I wanted to make blends that nobody was doing. There's nothing wrong with doing Bordeaux style Texas blends or anything like that. But for me, the grapes do so much different here. But whether it's Texoma or the high plains, the growing and the expression of each varietal is always a little bit different. So we kind of play with some different blends that people wouldn't see together. Most, we have a label that's called Edge Blend, which every year the blend's a little bit different, led by something different, done with something different. But it all started with the first year Edge Blend was led by Petite Verdot, and then it was Barbera and Tempranillo. And it gave me a good segue to a joke that, you've got French, Italian, and Spanish, and this is the only place they get along is right here in this bottle. And that was just kind of my first step into exploring, well, why can't we put these things together and let's make something unique? And maybe there's something here in Texas we could be doing that become a flagship. And not to say that I'm the person that's going to push that envelope forward, but maybe I'm the person that helps people explore that a little bit more and somebody else makes it a flagship. We do a Tempranillo Petite Verdot blend, which is a very uncommon thing. It's Tempranillo led. We call it Petite. I'm not very creative when it comes to names. And that's become a very standout both with our customers and in competitions as well. It just adds so much more to the Tempranillo with just that little bit of Petite Verdot.
Yeah.
And it's usually around that 75, 25, 77, 23, in that range. And, everything here is touched by us, and every grape, we're still using buckets at processing. We don't have big fancy equipment. Everything is moved around by hand, several times, unfortunately. And you can feel that in the sense of pride of everybody that works here, because they better have pride in their family, right? And handcrafted, hand moved. And while you can get that somewhere, there's just a different feeling when you're on this beautiful property, having a great glass of wine, being loved by people in the tasting room, maybe hugged awkwardly if you're not into it, It's just, I think that makes us a standout. We've worked very hard of integrating ourselves into this community of wine, and it can be more happy with the people we've met. And so we're going to sit here and tell you about the winery down the street. We're going to encourage you to go visit this area. We're going to, all over North Texas. I can give you day trips all day long. We always encourage people, like, if you're going down the hill country, you should just stop in Mason, stay there for 3 days and have a great time and be able to visit with people. I want people to get out and explore Texas wine. And we just love when people come in and they either haven't ever had it, they haven't had it in 10 years, or they've had some bad experiences, and we get to look at that smile. And I don't think that's unique necessarily to us. I think it's a cool part about the Texas wine industry. And I think we just highlight it very well. Yeah.
Now, whether it's that location that Chris was talking about, or those really fun and flavorful wines that you're going to get to taste there, or even those great hugs from Chris and all of his staff, Edge of the Lake Vineyard is a can't-miss destination when you travel up to the North Texas region, and especially that Texoma AVA. Now, as always, make sure to check out their website before you go to see them. It's www.edgeofthelakevineyard. And on their website, you're going to find a place where you can shop for those wines and actually have them shipped directly to you, in addition to buying gift cards and even joining their wine club. You can even find some information about what to expect when you visit, more information about the family business and their family that makes this business go, as well as some contact information if you want to contact them. And lastly, you'll also find their event calendar online. You can find the menu of the things, the food that they have, as well as their wines there. And then you can also find more information on some of the experiences that Chris talked about in the interview itself, like that library room and other things, and much more. And don't forget, when you go to see them, make sure you tell them you heard about them on this podcast, Texas Under Vine. Now, once we wrapped up the interview, packed everything up, Chris led me out of the library into the tasting room where I was greeted with even more hugs. Not just from the staff, but from those lovely and tasty wines as well. They were like hugs in a glass. And as part of the tasting, I was able to sample through many of those incredible wines. And I even got to enjoy one of those amazing charcuterie boards that they have there. It is a lot. You may want to share it with somebody when you go, but it was so good. And I was able to enjoy that with some of those tasty libations. Everything was so well put together and well crafted. And I really did enjoy the one-on-one attention that everyone gets when you do a tasting from your server, to be able to go over all of the different wines as they came out one by one and to hear all the details about them. I kind of had a sneak preview of several of them from Chris in the interview, but when you go, you're going to get great stories and great information about every single wine that you taste there. And that is by design. Now, after all was tasted, it came that time for me to pick the one bottle that I really wanted to choose to purchase for my wine library for this episode. And for those that know me, they won't be surprised. But for those of you that don't, probably my favorite drink outside of wine is probably bourbon. And so I had to purchase their bourbon barrel aged Tempranillo that we talked about in the interview today. Such an amazing wine, rich in flavor, aromas. It tasted so good that I can easily see why this wine sells out so quickly. You got to make sure and try this when you go to see them. It's that bourbon-based Tempranillo. As a bourbon fan, it was truly a winner for me. But even if you're not a bourbon fan, I guarantee you're going to love it as well. Well, I kind of felt like I was the old man in the sea, but I was really more like a wine nerd in the lake, enjoying those beautiful views of the water, tasting those great wines. It literally felt like a slice of heaven out there. But as always, the time came for me to move on and to head out to other great wine destinations that we have here in the state to be able to bring you all the great information on those locations as well. Before I go, however, I do have a special request, and that would you be willing to help support the podcast? If you're enjoying the things that you're hearing and seeing on this podcast, learning about some of these amazing destinations, which I hope you're getting to go out and visit brand new places after exploring this podcast. That is the true intention of the podcast, is to get you excited to actually go visit these locations. And if you're enjoying that information, share it with a friend. Find other people who are interested in Texas wine, who need to know about these great Texas locations that we have for wine and the industry here. But also, in addition, I could use a little support for the podcast. It is an expensive thing to undertake. I do foot all of my costs. I'm a full-time teacher and I pay for most of this out of my pocket, but I do have some Patreon options for those of you. Thank you to my current Patreon subscribers. It does help to cover things like my hosting costs and things like that. I do have a lot of travel costs and I have a lot of purchases and things that I need to make for the podcast. I need some new equipment, things like that. So your support really does help this podcast go forward. So if you would be willing to support me, maybe through the Patreon, I do want to give you something back in return for your support. So if you go to my website, TexasUnderVine.com, go up to the top, find the Become a Patron link. You could either do a one-time donation through something like PayPal there, but you could also go to my Patreon site. And with Patreon, you can give a supporting donation once a month. It doesn't cost very much. You can start very low and going up to higher levels. And at each one of the levels, I try to give you something in return. So you can find out things like photos at the wineries. You can see one level, I give you a video walkthrough of every single winery that I go to for each episode. You can even find out where I'm going next before anyone else in my listening audience knows. And those are special things that you don't get just by watching or listening to the podcast. Thank you for subscribing, but if you're going to support, I want to give you something extra. So these are your extras that you can get by supporting the podcast. I even like to send out some special surprises each year to my Patreon subscribers too. But if that interests you, just go check out that Patreon support page, and I would love to have you as a sponsor of the podcast. Also, for those of you that are watching this podcast episode on YouTube, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe down below, and leave me a comment. So go to the comments below and tell me, what is your favorite thing about Edge of the Lake Vineyards? Or, as always, if you've never been, but now you're getting excited after hearing this episode or watching it there on YouTube, make sure and leave me a comment telling me, what are you most looking forward to checking out when you go? And with that, my time is up. So don't forget, subscribe to the podcast and follow my socials to be notified anytime a new episode is released. And until then, happy trails and bottoms up, y'all.
Thanks for listening to Texas Under Vine. We strive to provide you with the best information about wine businesses all over Texas. Be sure to check out our website at texasundervine.com and follow us on our socials at TexasUnderVine to stay up on all the upcoming episodes. Please email us with any suggestions or feedback. Also, contact us if you're interested in donating, sponsoring, or advertising on the podcast, just to help us cover our expenses and bring even more great info to you in future episodes. Above all, travel safely, and most especially, drink responsibly.
Howdy, Vine Trippers. Before we go, I wanted to direct you to my website, www.texasundervine, because there you're going to find a whole host of things. Besides access to the audio versions and the video versions of the podcast, you can also get those on any podcast provider and then the video on YouTube. But there you're going to find a couple of things. Did you know that I actually sold some Texas Under Vine merchandise? I only have a handful of items available, about 5 different things, but they are up on my store. So if you go to the website, texasundervine.com, and go to the top, you're going to see a link for the merchandise store. And there you can get your own Texas Under Vine swag to proudly show all of your friends that you support the Texas wine industry, and you can get them started on and hooked on the podcast as well, so they can go visit even more of these great wine destinations. But in addition to the store, I also have a Patreon for my subscribers, people that support this show. I do this all out of a work of love from my heart. I do not make any money on this podcast. I'm actually in the red because I support it all out of my own pocket as a teacher. And it's mainly because I love wine and I love the Texas wine industry. So if you're willing to help me do that and you'd like to see more of these great episodes, hear more from these amazing winemakers, learn more about some fun destinations for you to go and visit on your own, I would appreciate if you would be willing to subscribe to my Patreon. So at the top of my website page, again, you'll find a Become a Patron link. And there you can get all the information about becoming a subscriber to the podcast here as a Patreon subscriber. It only costs a few dollars a month if you're willing to commit that. And there are various levels that you can commit to that each give you behind the scenes benefits that you don't get. And I do have some new things in the pipeline coming down soon. So you want to get on that sooner than later. But right now you can get things like behind the scenes photos at different wineries. You can get things like at one level, you'll get a video walkthrough of the winery. So for every episode, I will post a video walkthrough of me taking you through the winery itself so you can see what it's like before you go. And then at one level, you can even find out before everyone else where I'm headed the next week on the show as it comes out. So you'll know before everyone else. You get a sneak peek. So there's just different levels of benefits and they all cost a different amount. And as you subscribe, you become the heart of this podcast. You really are what helps me succeed. You are my community and my people. And thank you so much for those that do subscribe. So if you're interested in joining Patreon, check the Become a Patron link at the top of the website. So again, the website is www.texasundervine.com. You can also go to all of my socials. I'm at Texas Under Vine on almost all the social accounts. And check it out and consider sponsoring the podcast and maybe even buying some of that really cool swag on the merchandise store. Happy trails and bottoms up, Vine Trippers.